All right, let's talk about fear. Not just jump scares, but that deep, creeping dread that gets under your skin. Today, we're going to dissect that feeling. We're looking at three true stories where perfectly normal situations get twisted into something, well, something terrifying, to show you how modern fear is really built. So, to start, I want you to ask yourself a question. Seriously, think about it. Where do you feel the most safe? Is it locked in your house? In your car? Maybe some quiet little spot you always go to? Get that place in your head. Because what's so fascinating about the stories we're getting into is that those exact places, the home, the car, the hangout spot, they become the stage for the horror. We're going to see how that feeling of safety can be completely and systematically torn apart. Okay, case study one. It starts with a welder, a guy who's living all by himself on this big, isolated farm. His home is his sanctuary, right? Especially the room that belonged to his late wife, Maria. In that room, that's exactly where it all begins. You see how it starts? It's almost nothing. A flicker of movement. The kind of thing you'd immediately dismiss, right? Just a trick of the light, your eyes playing games with you. But that right there, that's the first tiny crack in the foundation of his safety. The first little seed of doubt is planted.
And this is key. The terror doesn't just happen all at once. It's a slow burn. It's methodical. Night one, it's that figure in the window. The next night, he hears footsteps from that same empty room. The night after that, he comes down to find the kitchen lights on. You see? Each night, it gets a little closer, a little bolder, building and building toward this absolutely terrifying face-to-face confrontation. And this part is so important. He does the rational thing. He calls the police for help. But they find nothing. And suddenly, he's completely alone in this. The threat is no longer just some intruder. It's something only he seems to experience. It makes the fear so much worse, because now he has to ask himself, is this real, or am I actually losing my mind?
This moment. This is the real horror. It's not just a break-in anymore. The intruder is in his wife's room going through her things, scattering her clothes. This is a desecration of a memory. The chase that happens next isn't just about getting an intruder out. It's a desperate fight to take back a home that has been profoundly violated.
This whole story is just a perfect, chilling example of what we call sanctuary violation. It taps into this deep, primal fear that the one place in the entire world you're supposed to feel safe isn't. And when your home, your sanctuary, is compromised, well, where do you go? The anxiety never stops. So, if the first fear is about losing safety inside your home, what happens when that dread follows you out into the world? Our second case study takes us from a private home to a very public but very isolated space. A late-night trip for fast food that just spirals into a terrifying fight for survival.
You know, just like the first story, it all kicks off with something small, something that's just a little bit off. It's 2 a.m. and there's a beat-up car just sitting in a drive-through only parking lot. It's weird, sure, but it's the kind of weird you see and forget about 2 seconds later.
But then this happens. That same weird car from McDonald's pulls in right behind him at this empty, secluded nature preserve. And that's the moment the switch flips. That little anomaly isn't just an anomaly anymore. Now it's a pattern. And coincidence starts to feel a whole lot less like coincidence.
This is the question, right? This is the thought that crystallizes the fear. He's no longer just passively observing weird things. He's actively connecting the dots, and he's forced to consider a terrifying possibility, that this isn't random, that he's been targeted.
And just look how fast everything falls apart from there. First, the men get out and approach them. It's tense. But then, he spots a fourth guy, hiding in the trees, holding something, and all ambiguity is just gone. This is a trap. What follows is just a raw, desperate chase for their lives. And that final detail they find out later, that the guy was a known stalker, it's chilling, because it confirms they stumbled into the path of someone truly dangerous and unpredictable.
This is a classic case of what we call escalating paranoia. The fear here isn't about some supernatural monster. It's about the terrifying, unknowable logic inside another person's head. You have no idea why they picked you or what they're planning, and that makes the world feel incredibly dangerous and random.
Now for our last case, the fear comes from a totally different source. This isn't about someone invading your space or following you. This is about you,
knowingly, willingly stepping into a place you shouldn't be and waking something up.
I mean, look at this contrast. On one side, you have the thrill of it all. 6 friends having a good time, feeling brave because they're all together. But on the other side, you have the reality of what they found. A door slamming shut by itself, red stains on a dresser that were still sticky, a silhouette in a window. The fun adventure just completely dissolves into a nightmare. And this is the moment it all turns. That loud slam, your brain immediately tries to rationalize it. One of the others must have done it. But when they all realize no one was anywhere near the door, that's when the supernatural becomes a real terrifying possibility. And for half the group, that's it. They are out of there.
But 3 of them stay. And as they go deeper, what they find isn't just old and forgotten. They find evidence of something recent, something violent. Those sticky red stains are the most disturbing part, because it's proof. They haven't just stumbled into some dusty old building. They've walked into an active and very recent horror story.
This whole thing illustrates a fear of consequence, or what you might call consequential trespass. The horror here doesn't feel random at all. In a weird way, it feels earned. They crossed a boundary they shouldn't have, and the terror they find feels like a direct result of that choice. It's the fear that our own curiosity can be the very thing that destroys us. So we've looked at 3 very different kinds of fear, but what happens when you put them all together, side by side? You start to see a very clear pattern, an anatomy of what really scares us today. This really sums it all up, doesn't it? The intruder story attacks our need for a safe space, our sanctuary. The stalker story taps into that fear of random, meaningless violence out in the world. And the presence plays on our fear of the unknown and the consequences of our own choices. Each one takes a fundamental anxiety of being alive right now and turns it into a weapon. And I guess that's really what it all boils down to. Whether it's a person in your house, a car on the road, or a noise in an empty building, the real terror comes from the breakdown of rules, the breakdown of logic. Which leaves us with a pretty unsettling question to think about. If the things that scare us most are the things that make no sense, how can anyone ever really be safe?